The unexpected immunity. Commander Nora Reeves wiped sweat from her brow as she surveyed the alien terrain. The twin moons of Proxima 6 hung low in the violet sky, casting eerie shadows across the crystalline vegetation that spread before her. Her expedition armor, reinforced with duranium plates, felt unusually heavy in the planet's dense atmosphere. Perimeter secure, Commander, Lieutenant Ferris reported through her comm unit. No signs of Vesperian activity within the scanning range. Copy that, Nora replied, adjusting her grip on her pulse rifle. But stay alert. Vesperians are known for their stealth capabilities. The United Galactic Forces had deployed Nora's specialized recon team to Proxima 6 following troubling reports of Vesperian expansion into this neutral sector. Intelligence suggested they were establishing advanced outposts, potentially threatening several human settlements in neighboring systems. As leader of the 12th Tactical Response Division, Nora had been tasked with gathering concrete evidence of these encroachments. Her orders were explicit: observe, document, and if necessary, neutralize any immediate threats. What command hadn't mentioned was the oppressive heat that seemed to penetrate even their environmentally regulated suits. Movement detected at bearing 47, Sergeant Wesley's voice crackled through the comm. Single life form approaching rapidly. Nora pivoted, raising her weapon toward the dense, crystalline foliage. Through the shimmering vegetation, she caught glimpses of something moving with fluid grace. Her tactical display flickered, attempting to lock onto the target. Hold positions, she ordered. Let's assess the situation before engaging. The crystalline plants parted and a Vesperian emerged. Nora had studied their species extensively, but seeing one in person was entirely different. The being stood nearly 7 feet tall, with iridescent blue-green skin that seemed to shimmer with an internal light. Its muscular frame moved with predatory elegance, and large compound eyes, faceted like gemstones, fixed on her with unmistakable intelligence and hostility. The Vesperian wore what appeared to be ceremonial armor, intricate patterns etched into plates that protected vital areas while leaving much of its luminescent skin exposed. Most notably, from specialized glands near its wrists extended retractable stingers, each nearly 6 inches long and glistening with venom. Human intruders, the Vesperian spoke, its translator rendering the words in a multi-toned voice that seemed to vibrate the air. Trespassing on consecrated territory during the metamorphosis cycle. Nora kept her weapon trained on the alien but didn't fire. We're conducting a standard reconnaissance mission. We have no hostile intent. Your presence is hostility enough, the Vesperian replied, the bioluminescent patterns on its skin pulsing with what Nora recognized as anger. I am Scout Leader Thorn. You will leave immediately or face consequences. We're operating in neutral space as defined by the Orion Accords, Nora countered, maintaining her calm. Our intelligence indicates Vesperian expansion beyond your recognized territories. Thorn's bioluminescence shifted to a deeper blue. Your intelligence is flawed. This has been Vesperian's sacred ground for generations. During metamorphosis, we require isolation. Before Nora could respond, Thorn moved with startling speed. Despite her enhanced combat reflexes, she barely registered the motion before the Vesperian was upon her. She fired her pulse rifle, but the shot went wide as Thorn knocked the weapon from her hands. They tumbled to the ground, Nora's armor servos straining against the Vesperian's incredible strength. The alien's face was inches from hers, compound eyes reflecting her own image back at her in dozens of tiny facets. Commander, Wesley's voice shouted through the comm, orders. Hold your fire, Nora grunted, struggling to maintain her grip on Thorn's wrists, keeping those lethal stingers away from her exposed neck. Do not engage. She knew that Vesperian venom was neurotoxic, capable of paralyzing a human in seconds and causing death within minutes. Every briefing on Vesperian encounters emphasized avoiding close contact at all costs. You will die, Thorn hissed, the translator making the threat sound almost melodic. Your intrusion ends here. With a twist that defied Nora's grasp, Thorn freed one arm. Before she could react, the stinger plunged into her neck, piercing the junction between her armor plates. Nora felt the sharp pain of penetration, then a curious warmth spreading from the wound, nothing like the paralyzing agony she'd been briefed to expect. Thorn pulled back, compound eyes widening in what appeared to be confusion. You should be paralyzed already. Nora reached up, touching the puncture wound on her neck. It stung, but there was no spreading numbness, no paralysis, none of the symptoms she'd been warned about. Well, that's unexpected, she managed, genuinely surprised herself. The Vesperian backed away, the bioluminescent patterns on its skin shifting rapidly through colors Nora couldn't name. This is impossible. No species has ever resisted our venom. Nora slowly got to her feet, keeping her movements deliberate and non-threatening. Looks like there's a first time for everything. Commander, are you all right? Lieutenant Ferris's concerned voice came through the comm. I'm fine, Nora replied, her eyes never leaving Thorn. Stand down but stay alert. Thorn circled her compound eyes, studying her with intense focus. What are you? How did you survive? I'm human, Nora replied simply. Commander Nora Reeves, United Galactic Forces, and I have no idea why your venom didn't affect me. You are an anomaly, Thorn stated, moving closer again but with curiosity rather than aggression. This must be reported to the Hive Council. Nora saw an unexpected opportunity forming. The Vesperians had refused all diplomatic contact with humans for decades, viewing them as inferior beings unworthy of dialogue. Her immunity might represent a crack in that wall of separation. Perhaps, she suggested carefully, this presents an opportunity for both our species, something unprecedented. Thorn's bioluminescence pulsed in what Nora interpreted as consideration. The metamorphosis cycle complicates matters. During this time my kind experience biological imperatives that make interaction with other species problematic. Biological imperatives, Nora questioned. Our bodies prepare for transformation and renewal, Thorn explained, seeming reluctant to share such information. Aggressive territorial behaviors intensify, mating urges emerge, venom potency increases. It is why we isolate ourselves during this time. Nora processed this information, seeing parallels to certain Earth species with cyclical mating behaviors. And my presence here during this cycle is particularly problematic. Yes, Thorn confirmed, but your immunity presents questions that cannot be ignored. The Hive Council must be informed. Before Nora could respond, her comm unit crackled. Commander, we're picking up multiple approaching signatures, Wesley reported urgently. Appear to be Vesperian reinforcements. How many? She asked. At least 12 moving fast from the northeast. Nora looked at Thorn. Your friends. My scouting party, Thorn confirmed. They sense my confrontation with you. Making a quick decision, Nora activated her comm. All units maintain defensive positions but do not engage. I repeat, do not engage. I'm establishing communication with the Vesperian scout leader. Turning back to Thorn, she said, if I order my team to stand down, will you prevent your scouts from attacking them? Thorn's bioluminescence flickered in what appeared to be internal conflict. You would trust me after I attempted to kill you. I'm still alive, Nora pointed out, and that fact seems to interest both of us. After a moment, Thorn nodded. I will instruct my scouts to maintain distance, but you must understand during metamorphosis our control is imperfect. Noted, Nora replied, so what happens now? You will accompany me to meet with our regional overseer, Thorn decided. Your immunity must be verified and documented. Nora considered her options. Command had instructed her to gather intelligence on Vesperian activities, though they certainly hadn't anticipated this method. Going with Thorn would provide unprecedented access to Vesperian territory and potentially open diplomatic channels long thought impossible. I'll need to inform my team, she said. Of course, Thorn agreed, stepping back to give her space. As Nora updated her lieutenants, ordering them to maintain position and report to command about the unexpected development, she noticed Thorn watching her with those multifaceted eyes that missed nothing. Your subordinates disagree with your decision, Thorn observed when she finished. They're concerned, Nora corrected. It's their job to be. As mine would be, Thorn acknowledged. Concern for one's leader demonstrates loyalty. As they prepared to depart, Nora noticed subtle changes in Thorn's demeanor. The Vesperian moved closer than strictly necessary, the bioluminescent patterns on its skin pulsing in rhythms that seemed almost involuntary. Is something wrong? Nora asked. The metamorphosis cycle affects us in complex ways, Thorn admitted, compound eyes studying her intently. Your immunity to our venom is biologically significant. It suggests possibilities we had not considered. What kind of possibilities? That remains to be seen, Thorn replied enigmatically. The journey to the regional overseer will take us through the sacred groves. Few non-Vesperians have ever been permitted to enter. As they set off together, Nora couldn't help but feel she was crossing a threshold from which there would be no return. Whatever happened in the coming days would change not just her understanding of the Vesperians, but potentially the course of human-Vesperian relations forever. And as the twin moons of Proxima 6 rose higher in the alien sky, casting their otherworldly light on human and Vesperian walking side by side, Nora realized that her immunity to Thorn's venom might prove to be either the greatest diplomatic opportunity in history or the most dangerous biological anomaly the galaxy had ever witnessed. Diplomatic venom. The crystalline path through the sacred groves pulsed with bioluminescence beneath Nora's feet, responding to their movement like a living entity. Overhead, the canopy of translucent flora created a cathedral-like effect, filtering the twin moons' light into prismatic patterns that danced across Thorn's iridescent skin. Our ancestors cultivated these groves over millennia, Thorn explained, voice resonating with unmistakable pride. The crystal flora responds to Vesperian bioluminescence, strengthening during metamorphosis cycles. Nora marveled at the ecosystem's complexity. It's beautiful, our reports never mentioned anything like this. Because no human has ever been permitted to see it, Thorn replied, compound eyes reflecting fractured moonlight. Until you. They'd been traveling for nearly 6 hours since leaving her team behind. Lieutenant Ferris had protested vehemently against her departure with Thorn, but Nora recognized the unprecedented diplomatic opportunity her strange immunity presented. The regional overseer, what should I expect? Nora asked, adjusting her pace to match Thorn's longer stride. Overseer Valera is traditional, Thorn answered carefully. She has served through 3 complete metamorphosis cycles and holds significant influence with the Hive Council. Will she see my immunity as an opportunity or a threat? Thorn's bioluminescence shifted to a contemplative cyan. Both, most likely, change is never embraced easily by those in power. As they continued through the grove, Nora became increasingly aware of subtle changes in Thorn's behavior. The Vesperian moved closer to her as they walked, occasionally brushing against her in ways that seemed deliberate rather than accidental. I notice your bioluminescent patterns have intensified, Nora observed, scientific curiosity overcoming potential awkwardness. Is that related to the metamorphosis cycle? Thorn's skin pulsed briefly brighter. You are observant for a human. Yes, during metamorphosis our bioluminescence responds to compatible biological signatures. Compatible? Nora questioned, the implication dawning slowly. Are you saying that my immunity is triggering some kind of response in you? Your immunity suggests biological harmonization that should be impossible between our species, Thorn admitted. My body responds to this anomaly in ways I cannot fully control. Before Nora could process this revelation, they emerged from the sacred groves into a clearing dominated by an elaborate structure that appeared to be grown rather than built. Crystalline spires twisted toward the sky, interconnected by graceful arches that glowed with the same bioluminescence as the surrounding flora. The Overseer's Nexus, Thorn announced, we are expected. Indeed, a delegation of Vesperians awaited them at the entrance, their varied bioluminescent patterns creating a spectacular light display against the structure's crystalline surface. At their center stood a Vesperian notably taller than the others, with elaborate armor and skin that pulsed with deep indigo intensity. Overseer Valera, Thorn greeted with a formal gesture, bending at the waist while extending both arms, stingers retracted. Scout Leader Thorn, Valera's multi-toned voice carried authority. You bring a human into our sacred territory during metamorphosis. Explain this unprecedented breach of protocol. This human has demonstrated immunity to our venom, Thorn stated. I administered a full dose myself, she shows no effects. Valera's compound eyes fixed on Nora with intimidating intensity. Impossible, no species has ever developed resistance to our neurotoxins. Yet here I stand, Nora replied evenly, meeting the Overseer's gaze. Commander Nora Reeves, United Galactic Forces. We're aware of who you are, Commander, Valera replied. Your tactical division has been monitoring our activities for months. As your scouts have been monitoring our colony developments, Nora countered. Perhaps my immunity presents an opportunity to move beyond surveillance to actual dialogue. Valera's bioluminescence darkened. The human speaks boldly for one so vulnerable in our territory. The human survived your most effective biological weapon, Nora responded. Perhaps that earned some boldness. To Nora's surprise, Valera's patterns shifted to what appeared to be amusement. Indeed, come, both of you. The council representatives have arrived from the Hive capital. Your anomaly has generated significant interest. Inside the Nexus, the architecture was even more impressive, with spiraling chambers that seemed to defy conventional physics. They were led to a central chamber where 3 Vesperians wearing elaborate ceremonial attire awaited them. The immunity must be verified through controlled testing, announced one council representative after introductions were complete. If confirmed, we must understand its source and implications. I'm willing to cooperate with reasonable testing, Nora agreed. But I've also contacted my command. They're sending a scientific delegation to meet us here. This statement created immediate tension, the Vesperian's bioluminescence pulsing in patterns Nora couldn't interpret. Humans in our sacred territory during metamorphosis, Valera objected, unacceptable. If we're to establish meaningful dialogue between our species, both sides need to participate in this discovery, Nora insisted. My immunity could be the bridge we've never had before. Thorne moved slightly closer to Nora, a gesture not lost on the others. Commander Reeves's biological compatibility extends beyond mere venom immunity, Thorne stated formally. During our journey, I experienced resonance patterns consistent with partial harmonic synchronization. The council representatives exchanged looks of unmistakable shock. That would be unprecedented, one whispered. What exactly does that mean? Nora asked quietly. It means, Thorne explained, that your biological signature harmonizes with Vesperian physiology in ways previously thought impossible. During metamorphosis, we seek compatible partners whose biological rhythms complement our own. The implication stunned Nora into momentary silence. Are you suggesting some kind of interspecies compatibility? Precisely why this must be studied carefully, the lead council representative interjected. If verified, such compatibility could fundamentally change our understanding of interspecies relations. As arrangements were made for both testing and the arrival of the human delegation, Nora and Thorne were shown to private quarters within the Nexus. Once alone, Nora turned to Thorne with questions she couldn't ask publicly. This resonance you mentioned, is that why you've been staying close to me? Why your bioluminescence responds when I'm near? Thorne's patterns shifted to colors Nora hadn't seen before, patterns that seemed almost vulnerable in their intensity. Yes, Thorne admitted. During metamorphosis, our bodies seek compatible partners through biochemical and bioluminescent signals. Your presence triggers responses in me that should only occur with other Vesperians. And what does that mean for us? Nora asked directly. I don't know, Thorne replied with unexpected honesty. In our entire history, there is no record of compatibility with another species. You are an anomaly in every sense, Nora Reeves. The use of her first name didn't escape her notice. Well, I've been called worse things, she said with a slight smile. 2 days later, as scientists from both species conducted their tests, the results became increasingly clear. Nora's immunity stemmed from a rare genetic mutation that altered her neuroreceptors in ways that made them incompatible with Vesperian neurotoxins. More surprisingly, her biochemistry produced compounds that resonated harmonically with Vesperian bioluminescent communication. The implications are profound, Dr. Jameson, the lead human scientist, explained during a joint briefing. Commander Reeves's mutation suggests potential for developing treatments that could protect others from Vesperian venom, but more importantly, it demonstrates that our species aren't as biologically incompatible as previously believed. Not everyone welcomed these findings. Extremist factions on both sides viewed the discovery with alarm rather than hope. 3 days into the joint research, security alarms blared throughout the Nexus. We have intruders, Valera announced, rushing into the laboratory where Nora and Thorne were reviewing test results. Separatist Vesperians opposed to any human contact. They've disabled our outer defenses. My security team, Nora asked, immediately alert. Engaging the intruders but outnumbered, Valera replied. The Separatist objective appears to be this laboratory and you. Thorne's bioluminescence flared with protective intensity. We must move Nora to the inner sanctum. Too late, Valera said as the laboratory doors burst open. 5 Vesperians with distinctive crimson bioluminescent patterns charged into the room. Unlike the controlled, disciplined light patterns Nora had come to recognize, theirs pulsed chaotically, indicating extreme emotional states. The human abomination must be eliminated, their leader snarled. The harmony cannot be permitted. Thorne moved with startling speed, positioning himself between the attackers and Nora. She is under my protection, he declared, stingers extended and dripping with venom. Your judgment is compromised by biological resonance, the Separatist leader accused. You dishonor our species with this unnatural bond. What followed was a blur of motion as the Separatists attacked. Nora drew her sidearm, firing precise stun blasts while Thorne engaged in close combat, his movements fluid and lethal. Fighting side by side, they displayed an uncanny coordination, anticipating each other's movements as if they'd trained together for years. When it ended, the Separatists lay unconscious or restrained, and the council representatives who had witnessed the battle looked on with newfound respect. The harmony is real, one council member observed, watching as Thorn's bioluminescence synchronized perfectly with Nora's biorhythms. They move as one entity. Later, as the Nexus returned to calm, Nora found Thorn in the sacred grove, bioluminescence pulsing in contemplative patterns. The Council has agreed to formal diplomatic relations, Nora said, sitting beside him on a crystalline formation that hummed gently beneath them. Your testimony about our harmony apparently carried significant weight. Harmony is sacred to Vesperians, Thorn explained. What exists between us, this biological resonance, it transcends our traditional understanding of species boundaries. Nora studied his iridescent features, now familiar and strangely dear to her. So where does that leave us? Diplomatic curiosities, scientific anomalies. Thorn's bioluminescence shifted to patterns she now recognized as affection. It leaves us as pioneers, Nora Reeves, the first of what may become a new understanding between our peoples. He extended his hand toward hers, stingers fully retracted, a gesture of complete trust. When their fingers intertwined, his bioluminescence rippled in patterns that matched her pulse exactly. Your immunity to my venom was just the beginning, Thorn said softly. The true discovery is that boundaries we thought impermeable may be more crossable than anyone imagined. As the twin moons of Proxima 6 cast their light through the crystal canopy above, human and Vesperian sat together in perfect biological harmony, living proof that sometimes, what should kill you instead opens the door to unprecedented connection, and perhaps a future neither species could have imagined alone. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.